Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. There doesn't seem to be much joined up thinking in the SNP. There doesn't seem to be much thinking at all, really. But they keep trying to push people out of cars and onto public transport. They want to basically reduce car travel. They want to increase rail travel. They want to push the magnificent environmentalism of going by rail. And to help them do that, to help get people out of cars and into railways, they put the prices up nearly 10%. Yeah, that's going to work. And don't forget that ScotRail is owned by the government. And so technically, putting the prices up is only a tax. It's more tax. They need money, so they put the rail prices up thinking, hey, we're going to make far more money on the rails. The only trouble is, of course, they're now pricing it out of the reach of more people. And so more people will be resorting to, I don't know, driving cars or something. And of course, the tax for that goes to the UK government as opposed to the Scottish government. It's a weird way of thinking, isn't it? It's almost as though the people doing it are stupid. I cannot possibly comment on this, but I'm sure you can make your own decisions. Let's have a look at what's going on and why the prices are going up and why passengers are now paying an extra rail tax to keep Scotland going. Here goes. So ScotRail fares to rise by 8.7% from April as SNP ministers rob the pockets of passengers. Now, ScotRail is a nationalised industry, which means it shouldn't be putting the prices up like this. It should actually be subsidising travel. They want to encourage people out of cars, off the roads, into rail. Subsidise it, not make it so expensive that people will stop using it. Now, I've travelled all over Europe, and, rail fares in Europe are incredibly cheap. I mean, Switzerland, for example, one of the most expensive countries in the world to live, and trust me, it's about £17 for a Happy Meal. And back, 5-6 years ago, I was over at CERN, and it was about £8 for a pint of beer. It would have been about £2.50 here. So it isn't a cheap place by any means. You use their trams and their trains, and it's so cheap. And very, very good. It is very efficient. Runs like clockwork. You would expect nothing else of Switzerland. Cheap and reliable. And so people use it. ScotRail, bloody awful. Service cuts all the time, engines breaking down. That's when they even bother to actually run them. Cancel, delayed. And then they charge you nearly an extra 10% for the privilege of missing a train. It's a joke. No wonder people keep using the car. There's no alternative, especially out in the more rural areas. The only thing, and I will give them this, the only thing I like about ScotRail is they have the button out on the stations on the halts. You push the button and the train stops. It's a request stop. I like that. That's the only thing. Everything else is awful. Anyway, fares have been frozen for nearly 2 years, but Transport Minister Fiona Hislop said this was unsustainable as she heaped yet more misery on the travelling Scottish public. It's entirely sustainable. You own the bloody network. You own the train service. Just adopt it in, subsidise it. Yes, it's going to cost the taxpayer. So what? Your aim is to get people off the road. Get them on the trains. How else are you going to do it, you stupid woman? But then, of course, it's the SNP. They're all filled with stupid people, aren't they? And the only thing about Fiona is she don't really care about trains because you can't get a train to a Greggs. Anyway, rail fares in Scotland will increase 8.7% in April, SNP Transport Minister Fiona Hislop has announced. Well, she announced it like this. We've got 8.7%. Can't speak with a sausage roll in your mouth, can you, Fiona? Anyway, critics accuse the Scottish Government of robbing money directly from the pockets of commuters. It is effectively, because it's owned by the Scottish Government, it's effectively rail tax. It's another little sleek way of raising money, raising funds for the government, because they've made such a ham-fisted pig's ear of everything they've ever done. Money pissed away everywhere. Wagged away on embassies. Blown on private investigators. Thrown away at spin doctors rather than real doctors. And so they've got to get that back and say, hey, we own this. Let's maximise our profits. But again, you won't. You think, oh, look, we're putting it up 8.7%. We'll see an 8.7% increase in profit. No, Fiona. It won't work like that because so many people will now go, I can't afford the train, and they won't take it. Or they'll take fewer journeys, or they'll make different plans. This is the trouble when morons are allowed to do things. Subsidise the bloody train system. Make it cheap. Make people want to get on the trains. It really isn't hard. Go to Switzerland. Go to Germany. The German tram network. I lived in Dortmund. The tram network in Dortmund was absolutely the best. And it literally, you could count down the seconds. Oh, the tram will be here in 44 seconds. And boom, it was. How can you not do this in Scotland? Oh, that's right. The SNP. Anyway, after a 2-year freeze, the hike will come into effect in April for ScotRail services and from January the 1st on the newly nationalised Caledonian Sleeper. The move caused dismay at Holyrood amid a disastrous week for the Nats. Yeah, I mean, even their own people, even SNP politicians are thinking this is a bad idea because they're trying to push this get people onto the rails thing. The Greens aren't happy about it, but then the Greens are never happy about anything, are they? Even when Harvey's taking it, he's not happy, you know? Anyway, the decision comes just 24 hours after the Scottish Government announced 80 million cut to rail funding in Shona Robertson's historically bad budget. Yeah, cutting 80 million from the railways and then still want to encourage people on there. Yes, but the railways are shit now. Yes, but you must keep using them. But they're really expensive too. Yes, but you must keep using them. I don't want to. Use the rail. I mean, literally, what are they going to do? Beat people onto them? I wouldn't put it past them. Anyway, in response to Miss Hislop's bombshell announcement, Scottish Labour's transport spokesman Alex Rowley said the eye-watering fare hike will hit Scots hard during a cost of living crisis and push Scotland's rail service into a spiral of decline. Can it get any worse? I mean, literally, can it get any worse? Seriously? Other than just completely cancelling everything? Just never having a train? The SNP Green government, he said, is robbing money directly from the pockets of thousands of workers who rely on trains to get to work. Public ownership was an opportunity to transform Scotland's railway and deliver the affordable, reliable service passengers deserve. But under the SNP, we've seen the same overpriced chaos. Cancelled trains, late trains, broken down trains, the wrong kind of gobshite driver in the carriage, demanding higher wages, but delivering a worse service. And then charging people nearly 10% more for the privilege of standing looking at a sign saying the 433 to Inverness has been cancelled. Please see the rail replacement bus. That's great. You're sitting in Perth and having to get a rail replacement bus to Inverness. Good luck. Anyway, Scottish Tory spokesman Graham Simpson said the rises were a body blow to passengers, adding it does nothing to help hard-pressed Scots who are reeling from the SNP's catastrophic budget cuts, and it will do nothing but deter people from travelling by train. It is the opposite of what we should be doing. Massive subsidisation. Make trains cheap. Have, like, fixed fares. Have, like, a £1 hop and stopper kind of thing, where you can go, up to 5 stops for £1. £2 gets you an extra 3 stops. Things like that. And you do it by number of stops. And you go up. And so the most, 20 quid. Edinburgh to Inverness, 20 quid. Something like that. And you'll encourage people to use trains. You get all those cars off the road. It's fantastic. And yes, you're going to go, yes, but it costs a lot of money. Yeah, well, shit costs. Close an embassy. Pay for the damn thing. The scrapping of peak time fares, which was initially due to last until the end of April, will now finish in June, so there'll be peak time fares again. But Ms Hislop told MSPs the freeze on rail fares, put in place to help Scots deal with the cost of living crisis, was now unsustainable. They use this word unsustainable, but it's not what they mean. It means not willing. It doesn't mean unsustainable, it means they're not willing. They're not willing to invest in the rail system. They're not willing to have a low-cost rail system to encourage people out of cars. They're not willing to do that. It's not unsustainable. It's entirely sustainable. What is unsustainable are all those foreign embassies. Anyway, the Scottish Government rightly made the decision, she said, to freeze FlexiPass and season ticket prices as part of its response. And what has now is remained in place for almost 2 years, it's, they say again, no longer sustainable. Bullshit. Completely sustainable. Caledonian sleeper fares will also increase 8.7%, and this will take effect from the 1st of January. Blah, 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 blah. No, well, rubbish. And it is. It's an absolute pile of crap, isn't it? With one hand, they say we want to get people out of cars, and with the other hand, we want to get people out of trains. What they want is people to not move. Let's make moving so expensive that people will stay where they are. Then we can start kettling them in their 15-minute ghettos. It's all part of the plan, isn't it? People think I'm joking. People think I'm a conspiracy theorist. But just look at all the evidence. They're doing it on purpose. Oh well, you're the one who keep voting for it. I'll stop now. Thank you very much. I'll come up and we'll finish this video. Now, if you're one of these people who uses the train occasionally, just go on the occasional trip up or whatever, it's not really going to affect you too badly. It's an inconvenience. It's a little bit more expensive than that. But if you're a commuter, you could be seeing £500-600 a year added to your bill. Now, on top of the tax increases that you've just had as well, you know, you're massively out of pocket. That £600 is just money going straight into the government's coffers. That is another taxation. That is a huge amount of tax. And if you take that out as a percentage of your income, and let's say, you know, you're earning 30,000 a year, right? So 10%, 3,000, 1%, 300. It's 2%. They've just basically given you a 2% pay cut. After tax, it may be added. So by the time you take that off, it's about a 2.5% pay cut, as well as taxing you more for the privilege. You look around at the incredibly brilliant services you're getting for that, for your 2.5% pay cut. Feel better? Glad you voted SNP? Didn't think so. There we go. That's the price worth paying, is it? Massive pay cut, massive overtaxation, services are shit, cutting everything, and you're left with a burning, you know, landscape of destruction. It's like Verdun, isn't it? After the battle. It really is. It's just a mire. Things that were beautiful have gone. All that's left is a churned up mess with the dead and the dying rotting away in ditches. That is the SNP view of Scotland. Oh well, nothing you can do until the next election. But how many will change their mind? How many SNP supporters will look around, see what's happened and go, yeah, but we want more of the same. Because they're idiots. Anyway, I shall stop. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit that subscribe button. Massively important. Do please hit the like. Stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.